Today we're discussing 7 ways to die in 7 days to die. Now we've got a lot of info to cover and no time to waste, so let's get to it. 7 Days to Die is a survival game. As such, there are several things in this game that will try to kill you. Now some of these things are obvious, like the zombie jerks wanting to punch you in the face, or the aggressive animals looking to take a chunk out of your hide, but there are several obscure ways to die in this game that you may or may not be aware of. So today we're going to go over 7 ways to die in 7 days to die. These events or activities can lead to your death if you're not careful, and some of them may not be too obvious. So let's get right into it with number 1, broken bones suck. Now let's say you just fought off a whole bunch of zombie jerks, but you did not escape the encounter unscathed. One of the jerks got in a lucky swing and actually broke your leg. You finally managed to take down the last zombie, and boy are you happy to have escaped with your life. So in celebration you start hollering and jumping up and down in joy, when all of a sudden, you keel over dead. All the zombies were already taken care of, so nobody was punching you in the face, yet somehow you still died. That is because, ladies and gentlemen, when you have a broken leg, every single time you hit that jump button, you will take a point of damage. So as you see here, I'm jumping up and down, and every single time I jump, I take a point of damage. Now you may be saying to yourself, okay, well that sucks, but I'm sure once I have healed my leg that I can jump again. It'll be safe to jump. I'll just throw this cast on here and I should be right as rain. Not so fast, ladies and gentlemen. Even with a cast or splint on your leg, you will still take damage every time you jump with a broken leg. Now once your leg completely heals up and you go back to normal, then it is safe to jump. But until you have your leg completely healed, do not jump even if you have a cast or splint on it, because you will take damage every single time you do. This one obscure detail is easy to overlook and has caused the death of many players. This leads directly into number 2, broken bones suck. So let's set up another scenario, and this time we are facing a whole bunch of zombie jerks and we have our melee weapon out. We're swinging away, but unfortunately one of the jerks has broken your arm. You go ahead and keep fighting, and eventually you're able to fight off the zombies. However, they have really hurt you, got you down to next to nothing, and you are so angry at these jerks for hurting you so bad, you start taking out your aggression by smacking them when they're on the ground. You keep swinging and swinging until you fall over dead. Now this death works similar to the broken leg scenario. When you have a broken leg, every time you swing your melee weapon with a power attack, you will take a point of damage. And if you're not careful, you let your health get too low, you could actually swing yourself to death. And once again, if you heal up that broken arm and start swinging your melee weapon in a power attack, it does not matter, you will still take damage. The only way to completely prevent this from happening is to let your arm heal all the way up. But with a broken arm, when you perform power attacks, you will take damage whether or not you have a splint or cast on that arm. Now thankfully this method is a little less stressful than the leg, because you're going to be doing a lot more jumping than you are swinging your melee weapon. However, it is a very sneaky way to take damage and has led to the death of many players. Let's move on to number 3, taking a stroll. Sometimes you're out and about just wandering the zombie apocalypse when all of a sudden, you just die. Or you spot one of the best things in the game, the vending machines. Great, you're gonna be able to get yourself some food and some drink, maybe some of those awesome candies. You walk up to make your purchase and you die. Or you're in the thick of battle in a military installation. You're slowly backing up as you're firing at the zombie jerks, when all of a sudden, you die. One of the most dangerous things in 7 Days to Die are the deaths that you never see coming. And most of the time, those can be attributed to landmines. The fun pimps take glee in hiding landmines in places that players are more than likely going to step on them and blow themselves to kingdom come. This is especially true out in the wasteland. They are everywhere out in the wasteland, and it's random. And sometimes they are very difficult to spot, so you need to be very careful. But sometimes they can be in plain sight and you just miss them, like this one here in front of the vending machine. And if you're venturing entering into a military installation, always keep in the back of your mind that most of these have a ring of landmines on the outside. So while you're out and about taking a stroll through the zombie apocalypse, always be mindful of your surroundings. Take a look down and make sure that you're not about to step on a landmine and blow yourself to kingdom come. Let's move on to number 4. Boom! Let's take a look at this scenario. You're raiding a POI, you start to get overwhelmed by a whole bunch of zombie jerks, your health is low, you're getting battered, so you start firing aimlessly trying to hit anything and everything you can, when all of a sudden, you die. That's because, ladies and gentlemen, cars explode in 7 Days to Die. While car explosions can be utilized to your advantage, if you're standing a little too close to those bad boys when they go off, the explosion will take you down as well. These cars will explode if they are shot by you. They'll explode if they get punched by the zombie jerks. Or if a cop or radiated vulture happens to puke on them, that's another good way to set these bad boys off. So when you're fighting zombies, be very, very careful around cars. It does not take much to set them off, and when they go boom, they will kill you if you stand too close. Let's move on to number 5. It's a trap! I have got to warn you, ladies and gentlemen, the fun pimps are sneaky devils, and apparently they take glee in setting traps for players. Now, previously, we've discussed how they like to hide landmines all over the place that the players will walk on and blow themselves to kingdom come, but they also take glee in creating fall traps for the players as well. For instance, in this scenario, I'm being chased by a whole bunch of zombie jerks. I know I'm not in a position to take them out. I need to give myself a little bit of space, so I run into the next room when all of a sudden, the floor breaks out, and what's waiting for me below? But a whole bunch more zombie jerks. I quickly get overwhelmed and I die. Or let's take a look at this scenario. I'm nearing the end of a very tricky tier 5 factory POI. The main loot is within my grasp. I just have a little ways to go. I step inside the door and all of a sudden, down I go into another gigantic pit of zombie jerks. These fall pit traps are littered throughout 7 Days to Die. They are in so many different POIs, and they can easily lead to your death. So I valiantly fight off the zombies the best I can, but it's only a matter of time until once again I die. So you need to be very careful when you're moving throughout these POIs. The fun pimps take glee in setting traps for the players, and these traps have a high chance of killing you. Speaking of traps, you also have to be careful of your own traps. Wood spike traps that you place down will still hurt you if you run into them. Same thing with the iron spike traps. And blade traps are deadly. They will rip you to shreds in a matter of moments, and you will die. So even your own traps are extremely dangerous and can lead to your death. Next up, number 6, that's not popcorn. Now this way to die is a little bit different than some of the others because this is an intentional way to die. Let's say you just got into a big fight and you are beat to hell. You have several critical injuries and it would just take a lot to get you healed back up to normal. Sometimes it's better just to end it so you can start again. So you take one last look at the sky. Oh, look how beautiful it is. And no, that's not popcorn. But you go ahead and munch down some broken glass. Especially in the early stages of the game before you pass level 6, sometimes it's better just to munch on some broken glass and start again. If you get too damaged, too injured, where it would take way too long to get yourself healed back up, you can go ahead and munch on some glass, take the death, respawn, and start again. Now me personally, I try not to do this. I try to avoid death in 7 Days to Die as much as humanly possible, but this is one guaranteed way to set your character back to normal. Sure, you will have a death on your record, but your critical injuries will be gone, and you'll be back to full health. Now, later on in the game, you do take an XP penalty, but early in the game, it's no big whoop. Also, keep in mind that you can eat broken glass at any time, so if you have it in your inventory, or especially on your tool belt, be very, very careful that you don't accidentally eat broken glass. It will kill you every single time. And number 7, strayed too far. far. Now, when you're out and about exploring the zombie apocalypse, you need to be very careful that you do not stray a little too far. If you accidentally push the boundaries of your world a little too far, this is what starts to happen. Your screen goes all fuzzy green and you start taking damage rapidly. You have strayed into the radiation zone. So you scramble around like mad trying to exit the radiated zone, but before long, you will die. And what makes the radiated zone even more dangerous is that in order to get your stuff back, you have to go back into the radiated zone, which means taking even more damage. And unless you know exactly where you entered, it can be very easy to get lost once again and die. Plus, most of the time, these radiated zones are in the wasteland biome. So as you go in to grab your stuff, you're trying to make your way, scrambling your way out so you don't die again from the radiation. And we've already touched on the joys of the wasteland biome when this happens. You step on a landmine and die. So while you're out exploring your world, be very, very careful. The radiated zones are the fun pimp's way of marking the boundary to your map. So they don't cut you off from going to that section, but if you do, you will die. And generally speaking, these radiated zones will be in the wasteland biome, which comes with its own set of dangers. So when you start a new game, make sure you know the size of your world and keep an eye on your map coordinates. If you're starting to get to the edge of the map, you might want to stop exploring and turn back and go the other way. The alternative is death. Now, if you folks have found this video helpful and or enjoyable, be sure to subscribe to Saven's World by clicking that subscribe button. But for now, this is Saven saying thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me in Saven's World. And remember, the average gamer is always king of the hill on the bell curve.